Gracious God, we do give thanks for all the ways you inspire us to joy, to play, to literature, through scripture, all the ways we are invited into the adventure of life and the contemplation of what we will do with it. In Christ's name, amen. Please be seated. I'm so grateful to be able to do this today, to have a community that's willing to walk into things so creatively and participate, and have so many wonderful visitors with us today to come and worship. I want to begin my reflection here by just noting that with the advance of science, when science really came to the forefront, there's been a cultural struggle in the Western world, particularly between religion, which had been the preeminent way of understanding and reflecting on the universe, but between religion and science. A struggle between them for naming and claiming the nature of truth, how we interpret our reality. In his book entitled Into the Pensive, Patrick Macaulay writes this: religion has undergone such a serious cultural re-understanding that for many of us, it has lost its ability to perform its mythological function. Now, for folklorist Joseph Campbell, the mythic narrative of the hero's quest provides what we might today call a marauder's map guide for growing and maturing human beings. Mythic quest, the hero's quest, provides a way for us to work through fundamental issues like identity and discovering what we value through identifying with the hero's risk and danger. But while encountering that journey from the safe position and comfort of our own armchair or bed or favorite nook to sit and read. Religion, though, is not only about whether or not we believe in the existence of a supernatural being. That is one thing it ponders to us. But religion arises from the fundamental human quest for meaning, for discovering the guiding principles of how to live with the responsibility of our decisions and how best to make those decisions. That journey of self-discovery, of identifying what is meaningful to us, is a journey that includes much risk and much loss, but it is also a journey with much joy and much love. And this is the essential stuff of life and death, in which our life knows both thrill and terror. Over on the side altar at St. Luke's Chapel, you'll see the mirror of Irised. Above it is the inscription. It seems to be in a foreign language. Let me try if I can. Irised stra ehru ot ube kafru oit an woshi. It's backwards English. If you walked up there with a mirror of your own to see it reflected in your mirror, it would say, I show not your face, but your heart's desire. Our journey through life continually reflects back to us our heart's desire. While we often will not achieve all that we desire or imagine, and we can spend a lifetime wasting what has been given to us and feeling bad about ourselves or at loss, if we are not able to move forward with what we truly already have and truly already hold, a promise that we cannot even really imagine, but enter into with faith, that what will unfold for us, if we are true to ourselves, will be exactly right. Though ostensibly presented as a children's book, Our characters make life-altering decisions in Harry Potter, reflecting the perils of growing into adulthood. And I'm sorry to say to our young people, those perils don't just go away. They're lifelong. They just take different forms. As Ron, Hermione, and Harry all come to know, by the time we reach adulthood, none of us doesn't have a decision or two that we wouldn't give anything to go back and change. And that, too, is part of life. Harry is on the classic hero's journey, and perhaps his story resonates so powerfully with a new generation, for whom religion has perhaps lost its ability to tell a narrative in a way that reveals and conveys that same hero's quest in the figure of Christ. Whether we think of it as Jesus, whether we look at the story of Harry, we identify with his process of discovering his talents and skills, learning and practicing how to use them, forming strong and lasting friendships and bonds of support, and struggling with the realities of grief and death of those he loves. Now, when the first Harry Potter book was published, the first in the series, many of you may have been aware that J.K. Rowling was highly criticized by some parents, educators, and adults for dealing with such serious themes of death and loss so overtly in books for children. Meanwhile, children across the globe couldn't get enough. It was unvarnished, honest, and practical treatment of a reality that many adults struggle to come to terms with themselves. In addition to considering Harry's story as a hero's quest, we ought perhaps to observe he's also on a father quest. Father is not to be understood within the mythic context as a gender-specific role, but rather father, understood as a symbolic archetypal motif of seeking one's destiny, one's perhaps spiritual inheritance. Within the archetypal patterns of mythic journey, the mother often represents what is known and comforting and familiar, while the father represents what is not known, what is not sure, what is mysterious to us, and what is strange to us within ourselves. It may even frighten us as we discover it, but that our intuition tells us that we need to unveil and encounter. By the same token, the term Patronus that's used in the series comes from a Latin word for father, pater. The form of Harry's Patronus is a stag, the animal his father was able to transform into, and a symbol of a force able to protect Harry whenever called upon. The father's quest is core to the adventurer's journey in life, especially the early journey we all experience to adulthood. The adventure of discovering one's career or what one's calling is, what one's authentic self and nature are, naming where we come from and proclaiming where we want to go. It is the goal of living from our fullest potential as human beings that exceeds and challenges social expectations that attempt to steer us always towards conformity, obedience, or valuing financial stability to the sacrifice of all else. The preteen in the gospel that's known as Jesus seeks his father in the temple, leaving his earthly father and mother to wonder where he went and to fear for his life. As Jesus becomes a young adult, some just think he's outright crazy for doing what he's doing. And they don't respect him. And so Harry is in the midst of battle also between good and evil. His struggle with Tom Riddle, Voldemort, is a profound and courageous encounter with self, with the life quest to understand who we are and who we are meant to be, and cope with the choices and responsibilities of those choices that we have to make. While representing those polarities of good and evil, the two characters, Harry and Tom, share many experiences and have many things in common, from the circumstances of their childhoods, from being orphans, from their years at Hogwarts as a second home, their relationships with peers and friends, and their personality traits. J.K. Rowling has given to us a hero and a villain who are remarkably similar. The similarities and differences between them is as though one is a mirror image of the other. They share enough things in common to appear to be at times the same person, and yet the differences between them show us that they have chosen very different paths in life. In the book Chamber of Secrets, Tom Riddle observes their similarities when he says, "There are strange likenesses between us, Harry Potter. Even you must have noticed. Both half-bloods, orphans, raised by muggles, probably the only two Parselmouths to come to Hogwarts since the great Slytherin himself. We even look something alike." Harry is understandably troubled and disturbed by these revelations. And so in his distress, Harry later says to Dumbledore, "I don't think I'm like him." And Harry, more loudly than he intended, says, I chose Gryffindor." Well, that's the point, isn't it? He had a choice, and he chose differently when he had that opportunity. But Dumbledore, recognizing Harry's fear being associated with Tom Riddle and those characteristics, does not ignore those similarities or disguise them. Again, he is very honest. He acknowledges those similarities, he certifies them, but then he supports Harry's statement that he is different from Riddle. Different because he chose to be. "Listen to me, Harry," says Dumbledore. "You happen to have many qualities Salazar Slytherin prized in his hand-picked students. His own very rare gift of Parseltongue, which symbolizes resourcefulness and determination. He has a certain disregard for the rules," he added. "Yet it is our choices, Harry, that show us what we truly are, far more than our abilities." The fundamental similarities between Harry and Tom are a result of factors that are beyond their control. Neither chose to be born half-bloods, neither chose to be orphaned, neither chose to be raised by muggles, neither chose to be Parselmouths. Those were skills and talents they had. But what they did with those things made the world of difference between them. As Dumbledore wisely points out, Riddle chose to move one way in his life, and Harry chose another. Circumstance drew them together, but choice sets them apart. And in their friendships, there are differences too. Tom doesn't want to depend on anyone. "Lord Voldemort has never had a friend," says Dumbledore, "nor do I believe he ever wanted one. He treated other children poorly and grows into an adult that uses fear and intimidation to motivate those in his circle. Threats and malice. Harry, on the other hand, greatly values friendship. Although he was prevented from making friends at primary school due to his bully half-brother Dudley's influence, or cousin, I suppose he really is, upon entering Hogwarts, he quickly strikes up friendships that become central to who he is and to his life and to his journey. The relationships developed with Ron and Hermione are core examples of this. For Harry, who's raised by the Dursleys, apparently the most conformist, predictable, bullying, and demeaning family possible. But from these early experiences, Harry has an innate sense of compassion and empathy for others. He knows what it's like to be vilified because of other people's fears. He learns that their fears don't need to be his. That he isn't odd, but he is special. And that to be truly loved and to truly love usually includes putting others' needs before his own. And he grows into the courage he needs to come into terms with his own mortality. And from his love for his friends and for those who have been his true family, he is prepared to lose his life. It is in great part the example and memories of those who have given their lives on his behalf, his parents, his godfather, other friends. It is their example of rising to defend important values and principles that they believe in. It is their example from which Harry draws his own courage and experiences his own support for what he needs to do. But ultimately, at the end, Harry's greatest strength is his ability to love. The love and sacrifice of his parents is imprinted on him, a part of him. It's as though Harry were a wand, and at his core is the strength of love. And what he is able to come through are his challenges. He's able to overcome danger, evil, and even defeat death. The Harry Potter series is often criticized for Rowling's premise of witchcraft and wizardry. In fact, on our own Facebook page advertising this event today, there were a couple of people who made, to me, as astonishingly odd remarks. Not thoughtful, and certainly not educated, and certainly not acting from a place of reflection. And so yet every element, every theme within the mythic framework that Rowling creates in that journey of faith and questioning, whether there is such a thing about life beyond death. In that question, every single symbol she uses can be traced and found in Christian belief. Rowling is an active member of the Church of England. She is Anglican, a member of the Anglican tradition and communion. She's like us. Us Episcopalians who are also part of the Anglican communion and the Anglican expression. She is Christian, we are Christian. And the quotes that she uses, including the ones that we based our selection of readings on today, emerge at critical times as quotes of Scripture throughout the series of Harry Potter. For example, when Harry and Hermione travel to Godric's Hollow, they realize when they get to town that it's Christmas Eve. And they go to a graveyard, which is located on the grounds of a church. It is a Christian cemetery. And inside the church, there is a Christmas Eve service going on, a sacred moment celebrating the birth of Christ, the promise of new beginning. Hermione finds a grave that has a triangular mark upon it, and beneath the name is Ignatus Peveril. But Harry presses on, more interested in finding his parents' grave, and they find it. The grave of Lily and James Potter in a Christian burial ground outside of an Anglican church. And the gravestone bears the inscription, "The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death." And we heard that in our readings today from 1 Corinthians. Within the realm of Harry Potter, the book known to young wizards and witches everywhere as the Tales of Beedle the Bard, serves as the vehicle for introducing the deathly Hallows to the three friends. Above the story, the tale of the three brothers, Hermione Granger finds a strange symbol, which is later revealed to be the symbol of the Hallows. The triangle from that symbol represents the invisibility cloak, the circle inside, the triangle representing the resurrection stone, and the vertical line representing the wand. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. What protects us, what is with us, what always inspires us. And these three objects are also mentioned in the story itself. We know towards the end of the novel, Albus Dumbledore confirms that Harry is connected to the Peverils, and perhaps that's why he inherited the invisibility cloak. But here, in this story, ultimately, the fear and reality of death is addressed in myriad ways from beginning to end. A trinity of powers comes together to allow Harry to die, to be victorious, and to be resurrected. During the moments when Harry is neither in this life nor fully gone down that track from King's Cross Station, he has an important encounter with Dumbledore, who has already died in a previous book. "Tell me one last thing," said Harry. "Is it real? Or has all this been happening inside my head?" "Of course it's happening inside your head, Harry. But why on earth would that mean that it isn't real?" that, my friends, is the nature of faith. What we believe and carry within us, within our sense of love and commitment and relationship, is very, very real and makes real difference in the world. The question with which we are all presented at the border between childhood and adulthood is the same question we are presented at the border between life and death. To what will I or have I been willing to dedicate my life? Will you pick a purpose that is worthy of an entire human life? In our faith, in the hero quest of Jesus, he lived his entire human life for the purpose of love. He dedicated his whole life for love of his friends, not just with his death, but with his whole life. He had to learn how to be who he was. He wasn't perfect, always at it. He called people names. He turned over tables. He angered people. He learned how to use his skills. He found his true father, his purpose in life. And with the love of his friends to support him, he died. And they thought he was gone. But just as Dumbledore said to Harry, the ones who love us never really leave us. You can always find them here. Emmanuel, God with us. Love, an ultimate power that enfolds us like an invisible cloak, that protects us like a patronus in times of need, that reminds us of who we truly are. So loved that the sacrifice made on our behalf, because of that love, would have us live from the empowerment and enchantment of love, remembering that we are always beloved of God. Always. In Christ.